right.
Okay, we're going to get started on the Fukien Tea here. First thing I always start with is, well, you tell me. When you start working on a tree, what do you look at first?
Front or back?
Front or back. So how do you find the front? You find the back and the front's on the other side.
Yes, very easy. What pleases you the most?
Yeah, what, say that again?
What pleases you the most?
What pleases you the most? And usually it's movement. You have a nice movement to it. You usually don't want something coming straight out of the pot. You just want a little bit of angle one way or the other coming straight out of it. The only thing that comes usually straight out of the pot is formal. Okay? So you look at it to see what's giving you the best choices. And the other thing you want to look at too is it's not just the movement, but also what's giving you the best views too. Like this has nice movement, okay? But this is where it used to. This is a big scar. It's not going to go away anytime soon. Okay. So I will keep that in mind because if I wanted to use this scar. Do this. This is more like this. Would be poking you kind of right in the face. Okay. So I'm going to look at. Typically, you also want to look at. I look at the trunk when I start for the movement. I look at the base of the trunk. So I want to see if it widens down here. So I'm clearing some of the soil away to actually get at the base because these are usually planted a little bit deeper in the pot than they need to be, and the base does widen out a little bit here. Oh, there's a nice piece of moss. We won't lose that. The other thing I'll have you look at too, look at the very base of the trunk. As it's facing you right now, see how it's thin in this plane? Now look at it. I can hide it. The other thing, that if I had a choice, to me, the other thing that's really important to me is that I want, if I have the option, I want the tree to kind of like do this to you. I really want it to be, so that's why in formal Japanese design, you'll see that they usually, like an informal up art, for instance, will start in the center of the pot, kind of go away from you, and then curve up, and then the top usually, if you drop a string down, comes down to the bottom. That's why. So, because if they do it the opposite way, it's kind of like going like this, and it feels uncomfortable to look at. You really want to kind of get that feel that it's kind of welcoming you and kind of hugging you or opening up its arms to you a little bit. Otherwise, you can kind of like get the feel that it's kind of like backing away, and it's just like an uncomfortable feel. So I have to make my choices. Who picked this tree? I'm trying to figure out if I can hide that knot, that wound. I'm not sure I can. Not to my satisfaction. Because of that knot, I do like this for the front. Like where you're looking at is like kind of like the front. But the problem I have with this as the front is I have to guard this. I don't want that sticking out and hitting you in the face. To me, that's kind of like somebody standing like this, and that's not comfortable either. So I'm going to try to bring it a little bit to the side so it softens it, and then I'll be able to bring this over a little bit to soften it. Okay.
You're hiding a lot of the movement.
there, right?
Well, I've got to balance that because I don't want this as the front. I don't want this as the front because then I'm picking up that thin. I have to get it over into here, so I have to balance. So then I'll start to pick up this movement. So what I'm basically doing is I'm splitting the difference. I can either use this as a front and completely hide this big old nasty scar, or I can pick this as the front and have the scar looking at me and just pretend it's not there, or see if I can cover it up with one of these leaf groupings. Or I can sort of somewhere in between, so that this is not in front or the back, it's kind of on the side, and I can hide it more with a curve. I can do some carving here and hide it a little bit better. So that's what I think I'm going to do. The next thing I'm going to do who likes this? How do you feel about this?
I like
Because it's a couple different divergences here. You're either like, that is ugly, or that's enchanting. And it's really up to the artist, okay? I like it. So,
It gives interest to an otherwise just straight trunk doing nothing.
yeah, I agree.
Exactly. Yeah.
So now I'm just going to go at the individual leaf pads. The first thing that strikes me is that these two are coming out almost at this, you know, if I just hold this straight up, these are coming out like this. Which way does your eye go? It's too confusing. So I have a couple different options. I have to try to do this. So how can I do that? Well, I can make one higher by doing this. I can make the other one higher by doing that. Or I can do a little bit of wiring too, which is probably what I'm going to end up doing in addition to getting it off center. Yeah, I can get away with that. So as we talked about earlier, I'm going to these shoots that have grown out 6-8. I'm either going to here or here. Now the clip and grow method, what you got to pay attention to though, is where you clip dictates where it's going to grow. Okay, so if I've got this laying out and I want to fill in back here, if I cut this one, let me see which one. If I cut this one, this branch is going to grow from here now. Okay, but if I want it to grow over here, I've got to come back and I've got to cut to here. Now the bud that's right here will now grow in that direction. So you got to keep that in mind. Because you are directing, instead of using wire, you're directing the growth of the tree by selectively pruning at the correct spot. Okay, you see what I meant? Okay. Right now there's a latent bud right down in here, waiting to burst. Okay, it will grow in this direction. Okay, because it's pointing in that direction. If I cut down here, now it's going to go in this direction. Okay, because there's a latent bud right here waiting to go over here. Okay, so how you cut, how you prune is going to dictate where that's going to grow. Now everything internal to where you make the cut gets bushy. So like this little guy right here, that one's going to take off because the hormones, the growth hormones, are pushing up here saying grow, 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 grow. You know, get these big long things. You cut that off. Anything internal to that, the hormones are now going to go, well, okay, you grow. It's your turn. You go, 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 go. Okay, so you can kind of control it. I'm going to take off the typical ones that you would normally take off are the things close to where a branch meets the tree. I cut that off. The other thing I do like to have, I am going to clean up the scar a little bit, is some carving tools. Flex cut makes the best ones. And I love flex cut. So here's a nice little carving set here. Everybody see what this is? Band-Aids. Believe me, they know what they're doing. Because these are like little curved razor blades. But basically what you do is you go in and you curve, and you carve out, you get nice clean edges. So it's a really great tool to have if you do a lot of the bigger carving. Feel free to ask me any questions.
What is that plant?
This plant here, this is Fukien Tea. More than likely imported from China. Blaine, I don't know if you know, where you guys get these from? They import the larger ones, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fukien teas this size are pretty common coming in from China. Any other questions? So the ones I'm cutting out right now are branch comes into the main trunk. Anything that's growing down here, I'm cutting those off. Or anything that's growing straight down, I'm cutting those off. I want to start creating, the goal here is to start to create those pads that we talked about earlier. And again, what I'm doing by making these cuts right now, see like this guy right here, I can wire it up if I want. But I'm really feeling Chinese tonight. I don't want to wire anything if I don't have. But I don't cut all the bud off because where this was coming down, I did that very well. I didn't do that very well. Where this was coming down, I cut right here because there's a bud right here that's going to take off now. So again, I'm not just indiscriminately, and I'm always cutting at the inner nodes. I'm not cutting across leaves like that because any leaves that remain are going to burn, or they're going to die at that margin. So how was the Azalea Festival this year? I've never been to it.
Good.
You guys do like a Bonsai Azalea show as part of it?
No, yes.
We have our annual show for Triangle Bonsai, usually around the beginning of June, at the Arboretum up in Raleigh, associated with NC State, and the one that won our we have voting. All the public that come in gets a ballot, and all the trees are numbered. And so they vote for their choice, their best one, what they like the best. Not the best tree, what they like the best. So we give a prize out for people's choice. And it's not usually the best tree. It's just the one that strikes and talks to the most people, which is kind of cool. But the one that won this year was an azalea. It it was very pretty. In June, we were surprised it was still blooming out. In June, it was a late bloomer for down here.
Do you guys still do the exhibit at the state fair?
Yes, yes. Two things I have to say. One, this is going to be really nice. Buy more tickets. Did I do good? Blaine asked me to mention that. I forgot about it. Sorry. But yeah, I encourage all. It's statewide. It's not just Triangle Bonsai Society. As of last year, the state wanted to have a statewide bonsai competition. Now, the difficulty is that, as some of you may be aware, there is one of those in Asheville, first weekend of October. Arthur Jura, who I think comes here, right?
Yes.
Arthur Jura sponsors it, does a wonderful job every year. That's the week before, okay? Triangle Bonsai it started out as a little booth, no bigger than this stage. And then last year they said, hey, how about sponsoring a statewide competition? So we tried to do the best we can, and we didn't get a whole lot of, and the prize money, it's like $5-10. It's a state, but there's ribbons and everything. It's really nice. It's part of their flower show, so they have the African Violet Show and the Orchid Show. Now there's a bonsai competition that's statewide. We want to encourage you folks to participate in that. We worked out, we have security there, so none of the trees are going to get pilfered or anything. We have closed circuit television watching things. So, yeah. So usually it runs the first week of the fair, and then and it's the same thing. People come and vote. In the state fair, we usually get between 4,000 and 5,000 people go through the state fair. So it's a good opportunity to get some publicity for your club too, if you want to do that. So I would encourage you to do that. Okay, it's time for me to start picking branches. So yeah, the Triangle Bonsai Society has their little booth there, but that's actually separate now from the competition. Now the other thing I'm trying to take into consideration too are the length of these branches. Obviously you always want towards the top of the tree, they're tight, small, compact, and they get larger as they go out. So I'm going to try to get a triangle feel. Ideally, what I'm going for, even within a branch, I can't do it yet because of the development of the tree. I want this to be eventually a triangle. I want it wider back here. I want the foliage on this branch to be wide here and out to a point here. That'll only come with development. But I'm just going to try to clean it up real quick here so that we can have a conversation about which branches to keep and which ones to get rid of. I'm waiting to discover a little living friend on these trees. A lot of trees that I get from Florida usually come with little friends of the Crawley persuasion. And Jim Smith, who's a beautiful collection down in Vero Beach, Florida, I'd get trees from him, and invariably I'd open up the box and he packs in the peanuts. And you open up the box and the peanuts start moving. And out pops one of the most bewildered little anoles you've ever seen in your life, going, what happened? It's happened more than once. Tree frogs sometimes come in because you can't get a better pest control than an anole on your tree. They literally kind of just set up there and go to town. They do a great job.
For those of us who don't speak North Carolinian, is that a lizard?
Sorry.
Yes, that's a list.
I'm from New York.
Thank you.
A chameleon. You know, like
Okay,
the
got
little
it.
like buck 49 things you used to buy at Woolworths?
I remember them.
Okay, that's what it is, yep. Their species name is Anolis carolinensis. They're named after us. Yeah, those are the things that used to get out and drive them on crazy. Have you seen my lizard?
My cat brings them in and I take them out. I don't learn the cat.
Alive or dead?
Oh, yeah. I just take them outside.
Alive?
Yeah.
The cat won't kill it?
No.
That lizard's got to be ticked.
If I can catch her, they don't. Sometimes I put them all back outside.
The cat brought one in attached to her foot. She was just shaking the foot in it.
And it wouldn't let go.
Wouldn't let go.
You didn't want to go flying. Anybody have bedtime? Yeah, we got a bedtime time.
Quarter time.
Right, is it?
I know it's not much to look at, but here's a remnant of the flower if you want to pass it. They come off on these long stalks. No, it's not much to look at now, I'm afraid. They do flower.
Yeah, that's the one that's right here.
So they come in different colors?
Usually white, aren't they?
Usually, yeah, usually white. There's not a couple of them up here.
They normally flower more than once a year.
It depends on how much they're fertilized and how much,
Yeah.
the conditions that they're in, but they can, yeah. They can flower continuously throughout the summer.
Yeah, mine's been flowering for months.
Yeah, see,
It's
yeah.
still- It's just a little dinky one.
Yeah.
It's flowering like mad.
Anything that's on the inside of a curve, I'm taking off. Anything that's too close to the branch. If you have a branch coming, like I said, I'm taking off this stuff down here, but even if it has branches close to where the branch meets the trunk, I want to open this up to define that branch. Yeah, I'd say this thing flowered probably a few weeks ago, not that long ago. Ah, there's a little fuzzy. Little baby cricket. He might be local. He might be a local though.
You might have come out of my yard. That's where I had them for the last couple of days.
See, this is where. Oh, there's a flower.
Underneath.
Right there.
All right.
Still got white. It hasn't bloomed yet. But this is where I was telling you about where you have to be careful. I'm trying to figure out most of the time when I'm pruning, I'll always take a branch that I've pruned off to try to see how far I can go without cracking. It doesn't really hold true with this. I'm talking about bending something that's the size of my finger here. So when I bend, if I want to bring this one down, for instance, because it's going up, I want to try to bring it down. I want to make sure I'm really supporting it well with my finger where it meets the branch, and then testing how far I can bring down. You got to be very careful. Now, everybody knows how far they can go, right?
Oh, yeah. Okay, you hear a
Just
snap?
before it snaps.
You hear a snap?
Okay. All right. First question. The other thing that I like carrying with me are little cloths or washcloths or little towels.
It does, doesn't it?
It's amazing how they help you visualize things. This branch, here's the first question, this branch right here. Should it stay or should it go?
Cut it loose.
I like it.
Go.
Like it?
Go.
You can't see it.
Go.
Yeah, I'm going to go because it's fairly parallel with this one, and it's on the inside of a curve. So I want to establish this one as my first lowest branch, and this can be the second.
But we're not looking at the front of it.
You're looking pretty darn close to the front of it. This is, well, the bottom line is it's on the inside of the curve, no matter which angle you're looking at. If you'd rather have it stay, is that a bird out there?
It's a goner.
Who's good at picking out pots? Who would like to get a byline in the next newsletter? Ken Hallatt and... It'll say your name, it just won't say assistant. Anybody here, aluminum wire or copper wire? Aluminum? Copper? Really? Even you old guys don't use copper?
What's the difference?
What's that?
What's the difference?
Okay, good question. When I first started with aluminum didn't exist. Well, I'm not that old. Aluminum existed, but not aluminum bonsai wire didn't exist. So the only thing you could really use is copper.
Not tonight.
The difference really between aluminum and copper is its holding capacity. With copper wire, they anneal it. They heat it up and let it cool down slowly, and it makes it soft. So that when you put it on, it's fairly easy to bend when you put it on. But as soon as you bend it, the molecules kind of line back up and stiffen. You can't unbend it. It really hurts. It's very hard to gest. That's not the case. This is really easy to put on, and it's really easy to take off. Now, some people unwind it. Don't do that with these trees. Do not unwind it on. You'll break branches. Cut it off with a pair of wire cutters. So typically, to wire the same branch in aluminum versus copper, I have to use a much bigger piece of aluminum than I would copper, because the copper will hold much better. The other thing I'll tell you about what I'm trying to do too, ultimately, what we're aiming for is on a branch. I don't want, same thing as on a trunk. I don't want them growing out the same way. I want them alternate. As it goes out the branch, I want a branch here, branch here, branch here, branch here. Okay? I don't want them coming out the same way. So that's the other thing I'm looking for here too. Okay.
Were you ever a barber?
No.
It's a big piece.
Oh, yeah, you're wiring them up like crazy. Oh, yeah, everywhere you get it, yeah. Of course, yeah. Sometimes mine is, like, I keep the clock, don't go all the top and run the wire.
It's a healthy plant. A lot of shoots all over the place.
Works good. Any way you get it down.
Yeah, that's, and then that way, if I'm sure it's been up there long enough.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's right.
I actually like the look of the trees fired up like that. For me, it's when they're
I do too, it makes it look
Who
old.
said that was a long piece?
That's what you're after.
I don't have enough. That's kind of intentional, because this has a double at the end, so I'm actually gonna use this to wire the branch back a little bit, but then I'll break these out with a smaller piece.
How long will you leave that worm?
You have to keep an eye on it at this time of year. It's growing pretty actively. I would not leave it on for any more than 2 months at most before it starts cutting in. The other thing I want to show you here too is when I came with this wire, I had a choice to either go clockwise around it or come underneath and go counterclockwise. I want to bend this down. Remember how I was saying I wanted support here? I intentionally came around and went counterclockwise so I could put the wire under the branch to give it support as I pulled it down. If I had put it around the top and pulled down, there's really no support, there's only yank. So I'm actually, and this right here is where I'm not gonna torque here, I'm gonna start pulling here. And I'm not gonna bend the branch, I'm gonna bend the wire, and the branch will come with it. It's not a lot, it's just a little bit to bring it around. Anybody who wants to sing right now so they don't hear a snap, that would be great. Careful. So I don't like wiring these too much if I don't have to. So what I'm doing is I'm hiding this elbow with this branch right here. I'm trying to, so it comes out right there and kind of takes a little bit of the edge off the elbow. That's all I'm trying to do there.
We still have lots of tickets that we can be selling. It's one ticket for $5, or 3 for 10, or 6 for 20. Any questions? What kind of pot do you think? Oval?
What about, why do you say old?
I'd say round.
Here. Oh, you want this one?
I know it's just preference, but I would care more for those ones that look like ice cream cookies. I mean, that's what it's like.
Or the Lotus one?
The Lotus.
Oh, okay.
Now, why, Blaine, can you elaborate again? Why did you say old?
Informal. The movement in that is a feminine tree.
It has like a feminine feel to it, that's right.
Around.
It has curves is what he's trying to say.
So, what's wrong with that?
Nothing.
Well, see, he likes red paint.
Yeah.
Second.
Yeah, I agree. That one, I might go with this if a little bit bigger and glazed. But this is, it's too masculine. It's too, this is more of an elegant kind of like wispy kind of a feel to it that I'm going for. And this is just, it's just, it's a masculine pot, if you will. No curves. So, I don't know if this is a winner or the loser.
None.
We won't tell them, right? Okay. Everybody know how to prep a pot? Or, putting the screen over the big holes. But these are nice pots. These are Lotus, Chinese, and they come with these neat little wire holes. That's what these four holes here are, wire holes. These are drainage holes. You're seeing that more and more where you used to just get the drainage holes and you have to wire through the drainage holes. So what we do to fix that is we make little hairpins to hold the wires in, to hold the screen in. Just like a little clip on the bottom that holds the screen in. Lots of different ways you can do that. Some people make little S's out of them. And now I'm going to put wire that I'm actually going to use to wire this into the pot. Easiest thing to do is you have your wire like this, you hold it over where you're going to be wiring it in, and you just bend it. Fits in perfectly. Bless you.
I haven't seen ones that like books on the internet and catalogs and stuff. Like Korean, like,
They're really nice. They're not that expensive. And you still get the feel of them. So they're good if you can find them.
Now, when I tie this into the pot, I'm gonna cross these. I'm not gonna tie these two together. I'm gonna these two. I'm gonna tie these two together, and then I'm gonna tie these two together. Okay? This makes a stronger bond. There's some more soil in here. So you always get your pot ready before you really go to town on the soil. I mean, again, when you first start going down to find out where the actual bottom of the tree is, you can take that off. But before I really go to town on the root ball, I'm going to prep my pot. Woo. Got a mastodon tooth or something.
This tree.
When you're going after the roots, you don't want to start in here and work out. You want to start out here and work in. So you start out here and then work in. Try to get a good amount of that old soil out of there. It's way too organic, not enough drainage. That's what they use for the nurseries because they don't have to water as often. It holds more water, but it doesn't make as neat root bed.
How old is the tree that you got there?
Field grown in China, 10 years. Okay, here's another thing I just ran into. Save this. You save the potting soil? Anybody want the potting soil? Can you see this right here?
Yeah.
It's a root that crosses over. Now's the time to get rid of those. Now, if you can afford it, it's not a bad idea to have a separate pair of tools that you use in the roots as you do from the top. I don't. So I use the same set of tools. If I'm using a lot of trees, or if I'm using a lot of trees where I'm afraid of that, then I will wash the tools in between, but I'm not worried about it here. Big roots down here that have been chopped previously. I just want to take a little bit more off. I don't know if you can see it. There's a big root right here, about that big around. Carve it a little bit.
So that tree was kind of
You want to try to, when you're cutting the roots down like this, you don't want to go in and pull. You don't want to rip these roots that you're cutting right now. You want as clean a cut as you can possibly get. There's a lot of foam in here. They must have used chewed up like foam cartons as their, to keep their soil loose. There's a lot of little pieces of white foam. haven't wired it in yet. You really want to get this soil worked down in and around those roots before you wire it in. Since I took most of the soil off those roots, I'm gonna chopstick it to get it back down in there. You guys chopstick, you know how to chop, what I'm doing when I'm doing the chopstick. If you're doing it right, the soil level should drop as you chopstick. As you wiggle your chopstick, you'll see the soil go down because you're wiggling it down into the roots.
Usually water yours when you're doing your soil.
If my, I'll spring my roots usually was what people do. But then run in there, 30 minutes,
Yeah.
chopstick it, and then when I'm done, I submerge the whole thing.
Let it soak.
And that helps it set. Also, all the mess.
Wow.
I'm taking it. See the soil.
Now the other thing I'm looking for right now too is how am I going to wire this thing in? It's got a big ball down here, which is nice. But if I can help it, I'm going to try to wire it in, but if there's a way I can work around it or under it, I don't think there is. Now, when you're wiring something into the pot, if you just you get the wire going like this, if you just take your wire pliers, grab this, and start going to town and start turning it, you're more likely to break the wire, and then you got to start all over again. So what you do is you pull, twist down, pull, twist down. Then you won't be as likely to break the wire. I should have said that after I did this. That's pretty sturdy. And then typically what I do to finish it off when I'm wiring, I get it fairly snugged into the pot up on top here. Is I go down here, down here at the bottom, to these here. Won't be able to see me do it, but I take this and I bend it so it puts a little Z. And basically it's taking the wire here. bottom. And it basically just, it just gives it a nice little snug fit. You can't do it too much, you'll break the wire. This is why I don't do round soil. Your whole body looks like that when you're done. Get dirt in places you didn't even think you had. Still not getting this down as far as I want it to. There you go. How's that look? I'd like it a little bit more this way. I'd like it a little bit more that way, but that's okay for now. Next time I pot, I'll probably put it a little bit more this way. I like this. I might even put a piece of lichen in there that's light, so that actually people go, ooh, there's something in there. I might do that on purpose. I just like it. And then I'll get some putty and there's a flower right there I left on purpose. So if you want to come up and look, there's a flower that hasn't bloomed yet.
Ken, what would you think about getting a Dremel and making that even bigger?
You could do that. The challenge is making it look natural. It can be done, but it's not easy to do. This one, I think, could come back a little bit farther even. But in the time here, I won't do that. You could probably do a little clip and grow on this because there's plenty of stuff coming in this direction, away from you. It opens it up a little bit. But I think that's it. We got more time for tickets. Last chance.
That's right.